Greetings, everyone. I thought that I would do a real quick introduction, real quick, on League of Legends, and I'll try to make this really fast and as comprehensive as possible. So, League of Legends, after you do the tutorial, you find out basically the overall goal of the game. There are three lanes. You have each team has an army. That's these little creeps right here. They call them minions, and the minions just travel up and down these lanes. Now the goal for each team is to basically follow your minions and destroy the towers the enemy has, and then kill the base. And once you kill the base, you win the game. And it seems super simple, but there's a lot to it. Now, League of, well, not just League of Legends, but Dota, basically every MOBA is a mini RPG, a mini role-playing game. You select your character, and just like in Overwatch, each character has 4 different abilities. Now, you don't start out with all 4 abilities. You level up just like in an RPG. Essentially, the way that you level up is by getting experience. You get experience by but a couple of different ways. You get experience by being around creeps that die, these minions that die. They give off experience. As you can see, as each minion dies, I'm gaining experience. And as you level up, it gives you access to more spells. Now, just like that, I leveled up. I'm level 2 now. I get another spell. Every time you level up, you're going to be able to either upgrade your spells or get access to a new spell. Now, once you hit level 6, that's when you get your ultimate. Your ultimate is the R button. And your ultimate is just like in Overwatch, how it charges. Your ultimate is basically the best ability in the kit for that character. So your goal here, you get experience by being around creeps dying, or you get experience by being around enemy heroes dying. Here's the thing. Whenever experience is given off, like if a creep dies, if this creep dies, he's given off 100% experience. Now, the experience that's given off in lane is divided by the number of players that are around that creep or that hero that has died. For example, if there was another character, character in lane with me, now there are 2 champions in lane, and the experience that's being given off from these creeps dying is divided by 2. So you get less experience the more heroes or other players that are in the lane or around the character that died. So you always want to be around either minions dying, or you always want to be around heroes dying, and that depends on the role. Okay? Now, the second aspect to League of Legends and MOBAs in general is that you also buy items. So if you open up the shop here, there's all of these different items. All of this can be a little overwhelming, but really all you need to know is these recommended items, like just from the research that I've done with the websites, like that offer builds and stuff, these are pretty good. So while you're learning the game, just go through and buy the recommended items, and it's going to give you characters that these specific items on the other team work really well against. It's always good to counter. I like to counter the enemy team, and that's going to be a little different, obviously. It's not always going to be the same, so you might not always build the same items. When you start the game out, you're going to start out with basically just a small amount of gold, and you're always going to want to start out with with some basic stuff. So like when you start the game, Over here in the top left panel, this is the tab. This is the section for utility. Basically, these are potions. There are 3 different types of potions here. Really, the only 2 potions you'll ever buy are the health potion and the refillable potion. The refillable potion is really meant for junglers, and we'll talk about that in a second. The second tab here is for your utility item, which is on the button number 4. Now, MOBAs are a game of space. You can always judge by how much you're winning. It's never about how many kills your team has, or it's not even about it's not about kills. It's not about levels. It's not even about items. It's about space. It's about map control. The more you control the map, the more, like, statistically, your higher chances of winning. Think of it this way. If you control 3/4 of the map here, that means the enemy team, and by control, I mean, like, you can see where the enemy team is. They can't really take advantage of all of the experience that's being given off from the creeps. Then statistically, you're more likely to win the game. So to help with that, this next panel is all about vision. This first vision item that you buy, it's a stealth ward. All of these buttons go down here in your inventory. This is your inventory right here. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7 are all for your items. Your key 4 is for you to put your vision down. Now, this vision, this ward gives vision on the map. So, like, for example, so like here, everything is grayed out. Like, I can't see all of this stuff. But if I put a vision ward here, then when I teleport back to base, you can see that vision ward is giving me vision. And you want to put them in the weeds, because the vision wards are stealth, but they can be seen by the next utility item. The next utility item is the Oracle Lens. The Oracle Lens, basically, when you activate it, it's going to scan the area. It's going to tell you if there are any stealth enemies around you, and it's also going to tell you if there are any wards next to you. So, like, and this works on creeps too. Like, see, you can use this to scan for enemies around you, and you can use it to scan for wards. So, because MOBAs are a game of space, you always want to have as much vision of the map as possible so you know where you can go and where the enemy is at. You always want to know where their location is. Okay? All right. The next thing. You learned in the tutorial that there's a top lane, there's a mid lane, and there's a bottom lane. Well, it's not really that simple. So the top lane in the designated meta right now, and this might change as they update characters, the top lane is where tanks go to solo each other. It's a 1v1 lane. Okay? Their goal is to get experience so they can build their HP up, because as you level up, your base stats increase. Not just the damage of your spells, but also your health, your mana pool, your basic attack speed. All of these base stats increase as you level up. So tanks want to go up here so they can get solo experience that's not divided among several people. That way, they have a lot of health when it comes to team fighting. The mid lane is probably the most difficult lane in the game. The reason I say that is because this is where the best player on each team typically goes to 1v1. Now the 1v1 mid is really important because the mid lane, you've heard it say the quickest route to any between 2 points is always straight through. The mid lane is really important because if you lose mid lane, let's say that I'm versing let's say that I'm versing a bad guy here. And let's say that I lose mid lane and I lose my tower. That takes away this whole section of the map that either I can't see or I can't travel safely through. And that's a straight line for the enemy to take my base. The mid lane's really important. So it's really important the best player goes the mid lane. Another reason that it's really important that the best player goes mid lane is because it's also the lane that has access to both bottom and top. So the mid laner has to have extreme game awareness because you're open to several flanks in the mid lane, right? Like, it's really easy. There are several routes the enemy can take to kill you. So the mid laner always needs to be aware of what's happening in the game and be aware of how safe he or she is. Because like I said, it's the quickest route between 2 points. Now, bot lane. Bot lane is typically the only lane in a standard game where 2 characters go. So 2 players go bot lane. There's 2 roles that go bot lane. It's the ADC, attack, damage, carry, and the support. Now the ADC is called attack, damage, carry because they start off super weak, and it is their goal specifically to carry the game. They do this by getting a lot of gold safely, not dying, and getting last hits. Now, I told you how to get experience in the game. But to get gold, you get gold similarly to getting experience. There are 2 main ways to get gold. You get gold by being the last thing to kill a creep. So like the last hit, if you finish the creep off, you're going to get gold. You're also going to get gold by getting assists or kills. You'll get more gold by getting a kill and less gold by getting an assist. So the ADC's role when they come to lane is primarily to focus on getting these last hits. You see those gold pop up, getting these last hits to attain gold. Because ADCs start off super weak and there's a lot of pressure on ADCs to be strong in the late game, it's really important that the ADC doesn't die in the early part of the game, is successful in getting minion kills so they can get gold and go back to the shop and buy items. Now the other role that goes to the bot lane with the ADC is the support role. The support role is typically champions who have a consistent scaling throughout the game, meaning they don't really have any strong, they don't get super strong throughout the game, but they don't get weaker either. Typically these champions are champions that have a lot of control, like stuns, or have a lot of mobility. Their goal when they come to the lane with the ADC is specifically to not try to take the last hits from these minions from the ADC, but B, to also use their spells to threaten the other ADC and other support in the lane. Your goal as a support is always to try to set up kills. You're going to get gold from being a part of kills, and you're going to get gold from getting kills in lane. Now, I told you that experience is divided between the 2. It's not really important for the support or the ADC to get gold, to get a lot of experience, because the support won't power spike. He won't get stronger at the more levels he gets. The support is pretty much going to be consistently the same throughout the entire game. The ADC, it's not super, they're not reliant on experience. Those champions aren't reliant on experience. Those champions are reliant on gold. Their goal is to get gold so that they can buy items so that their basic attacks do more damage. So those are the 3 lanes. The last role in League of Legends is the jungle role. And the jungler role is, I would say, the second hardest role in the game. Because, wow, look at that wave. That's a huge wave. That's just like a lot of creeps. That's insane. I guess they're all just like built up attacking that dummy. Crazy. So it's the second hardest role in the game because you don't go to a lane. You're not just existing and getting some form of experience. The jungler's role is to go into the jungle, basically all these grayed out areas where there are these jungle creeps. You go and you kill these creeps. And you get gold and experience that way. Now, the jungler's job is not to just sit in the lane and sit in the jungle and kill creeps. As engagements happen in lane, the goal of the jungler is basically to deny the enemy team advantage. So engagements are happening down here in bottom lane. If the support is doing their job and landing their spells, the enemy team should be ideally lower on health. Okay? That allows the jungler to roam all across the map and try to either A, get kills by the support and the carry setting up ganks. Ganks are basically when someone comes into your lane and kills you. So the support and ADC use their spells to get the enemy team low. The jungler comes down here to bot lane and roams and ganks them and kills them. And then the experience and gold is divided among all 3. Now, your goal is to either get kills or B, force people out of lane. And this is the biggest mistake that people make because they don't understand the strength of not necessarily killing somebody, but forcing them to go back to their base to heal up. Because if you don't have to get a kill. If you make somebody go back to their base, you are removing them from A, getting experience from minions dying, and B, getting gold from last hits. And that's just as effective as having them respawn for 5 seconds. Like, that's still strong. So the last thing that I want to talk about are the two main objectives on the map that basically buff the entire team. The first thing is this dragon. Now this dragon spawns every 3 minutes. When you kill the dragon, this gives your team a buff. This gives your team a temporary buff, okay? The temporary buff depends on the type of dragon that is spawned, and that's probably the thing that I feel the weakest in. Like, I don't really know all of the buffs. The next objective is the Rift Herald and Baron. So the Rift Herald and Baron spawn in the same place, and the Rift Herald, you kill it once and it drops this orb. When you pick up that orb, you can go over here, and now your utility item is replaced with Eye of the Herald. When you lay down Eye of the Herald, your team can summon the Rift Herald, and then the Rift Herald, whatever lane you summon it in, it's going to push and do massive damage to the tower, but also damaging itself. Okay? Once the Rift Herald has been killed, it only spawns once. Then Baron spawns, and Baron gives your entire, it gives your team a buff. But most importantly, it gives all of the minions in your control a buff. So all of the minions on your side of the field, once you kill Baron, all of the minions on your side of the field get a buff, and it makes them stronger. This boosts their attack damage, their health. So naturally you want this, because this is going to cause pretty much like all of our lanes are going to push in now because of that buff. Because of that buff, all of the minions are going to push, and the game is just going to naturally push to the enemy side of the map. Look, it even buffs you. You get increased damage on both your attacks and your ability power. You get an empowered recall. Like, this is just, if you take Baron and you take Dragon, you win the game, really. If you have both buffs at the same time, you win the game. So these are two key points that you need to be aware of. And I think that is it. I know that's a lot. Sorry.